Hey people of planet Earth, today we have quite an interesting topic to cover. In vanilla Fallout 4, most weapons are hit scan, except in VATS. We'll be looking at mods that replace these instant hit bullets with projectiles that have semi-realistic ballistic physics. There are actually tons of mods that do this. They all give projectiles different properties and have their own quirks. I won't be covering all of these mods since there's so many of them and some of them are really old and outdated, but I will be looking at the 6 I'm listing on screen. So which of these mods would I recommend? Let's build some anticipation. Drum roll, please. None of them! That's right, I recommend you stay away from every single one of these mods. Now, don't get the wrong idea, these mods aren't broken, they're not buggy, and they generally don't have unmanageable compatibility issues. The reason you shouldn't bother with them is simple. They are all pointless, and I will explain why. Even with maxed out settings, in Fallout 4 you can barely see enemies 200 meters away. At that range, both in real life and in most of these mods as well, your average rifle round will impact in less than a quarter of a second. Bullet drop likewise will be a non-factor. Thus, at the ranges combat typically occurs in Fallout 4, there is very little practical difference between hit scan and true projectile bullets. Okay, you might say, but what about going beyond maximum settings? Yes, you can increase your U-grids to load and actor fade settings in the INI, but doing this can mess with random encounters, and more importantly, it massively harms performance. Loading times will be significantly longer, and as this chart from Nvidia shows, your frame rate is going to drop like a rock. Even then, you'll only be able to see enemies from perhaps 400 meters away, which is still pitifully short compared to the distances real combat can take place at. And from that far away, the AI can't even react to being shot at. I don't see how it's any fun to kill opponents that are incapable of fighting back. Fundamentally, this game is incapable of portraying realistic, long-range combat. At best, you could add some tactical flavor by putting in exaggerated bullet drop and making projectiles relatively slow, but none of these mods actually do that. Despite painting with a broad brush and trashing all of these mods, I'm going to look over each one of them individually anyways. Our first mod is called Munitions Ballistics. It's a recently updated version of an older mod called Realistic Bullets, Velocity, and Gravity. As the name implies, this mod requires munitions by default, but since a lot of people use munitions nowadays, it's probably an advantage rather than a problem. Regardless, there's a light version that doesn't require munitions if you want that. There's also a patch for true damage that you must download if you use that mod. There are even patches for the munitions additional ammo mod, so it seems like this author has all the bases covered. If you're going to use any of these mods for a future playthrough, it should be this one because of its compatibility. In spite of that though, this mod is a poster child for what I was just talking about. Every single ammo type for munitions has been given its own projectile that has very close to realistic values for speed and bullet drop, which means both are barely noticeable. Bullets travel so fast they might as well be hit scan. And since this mod's tracers are very difficult to see unless they're viewed from a side angle, even with the brighter tracers option, no matter how much you slow down the game, you'll hardly be able to see the bullets you fire or bullets fired directly at you. Like I said, these mods are pointless, so let's move on to the second one called Tracers. Light 'em up. This mod is very basic. It has no support for any new caliber mods, but since most of those mods still use vanilla projectiles, it's not really a big deal. The biggest compatibility issue will be a few ammo types still being hit scan. Compared to Munitions Ballistics, bullets fly a lot slower, nowhere near realistic speed. But they still have practically no drop-off, so sniping won't be very difficult anyways. The titular tracers of this mod are an odd pink and yellow color. They're more visible than Munitions Ballistics tracers at least. Again, I see no reason to use this mod. Why not stick with hit scan weapons? Our third mod is Visible Bullets. This mod makes some unnecessary edits to a bunch of vanilla ammo types, which could cause compatibility issues for you. Also, its projectiles are ugly as hell. They look like little red missiles. I do like the smoke trail effect though. It looks cool when you fire a weapon in slow motion. This mod's bullets are incredibly slow. They're so slow that many airsoft pellets travel faster. They're so slow you can dodge them using jet. And they are completely unaffected by gravity. There is no bullet drop in this mod. As much as I like the idea of dodging bullets, since it's the only cool thing you can do with projectiles that you couldn't do with hit scan weapons, I don't think it's anything more than a novelty. Forget about this mod too. Our fourth mod is Weapons of Fate Ballistics Overhaul. This mod comes with a foam mod installer. You can add support for the DLCs, make tracers invisible, and reduce bullet speed by 25% or 50%. Its projectiles have the same sort of smoke trail as visible bullets, but its tracers look like tracers rather than ugly red missiles. Uniquely, this mod adds lights to bullets, which thankfully aren't shadow casting lights or the game would turn into a slideshow. But when there's a lot of action going on, you'll probably still see a performance drop. And it's all for nothing because the bullets fly incredibly fast and bullet drop is meager. Just like the last mod, Weapons of Fate edits vanilla ammunition records, which will cause problems with other mods that edit the same records. I'm sorry for being repetitious, but I need to stress the fact that these mods are unnecessary. Our fifth mod is Wasteland Ballistics, which is the most unique mod on this list. Not only does it make ranged weapons fire projectiles, which I have nothing to say about because it's basically the same as Munitions Ballistics in that regard, it also claims to turn Fallout 4's gunplay into an Escape from Tarkov-style realistic experience. I would say all it does is turn combat into a joke. Super mutants are still bullet sponges soaking up damage like crazy, but hit them in the head once with a 10mm and they die. Deathclaws can be killed in 1 or 2 shots from a 50 cal, and if you aren't wearing a helmet or torso armor, you too can randomly die in 1 shot to a hit that should barely tick down your health bar. I kind of like the bleeding damage mechanic, but better locational damage and maim handle it way better by adding bandages you can use to halt blood loss. I do not like this mod. I want to use mods that fix Fallout 4's health and damage mechanics instead of replacing them with a script that makes everyone's stats completely irrelevant. Instead of Wasteland Ballistics, I would highly recommend loading a combination of True Damage and Scourge, and maybe you can throw Maim in there too if you want to suffer, but whatever you do, don't go with this mod. Our final mod today is Ballistic Spitfire. This one requires you install the original Spitfire mod as a dependency. Ballistic Spitfire has the greatest potential for compatibility problems of all the mods I'm examining today. It edits not only most ammunition records, but also many weapon records. Unless you carefully merge this mod's changes to fit your needs, it will break your weapons replacers, it will break munitions, it will break True Damage, Horizon, Weapons Overhaul Redux. Any mod that edits vanilla weapons will cause problems with Spitfire. Sure, the muzzle flashes undoubtedly look way better than before, but they don't look so good that it's worth the hassle of dealing with incompatibilities in my opinion. And once more, for the last time, the ballistic properties of these weapons are so close to real life, at the ranges combat occurs in Fallout 4, they might as well be hitscan. This mod is pointless. Alright, I hope you found this video interesting and found my arguments compelling. My conclusions about these mods were very negative, but that's just how it goes sometimes. Until my next video, toodles!